After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC, and he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So, my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions, and after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest.
Let me go and reiterate the important days in the whole year 2019, that has an important planetary combination and will have an impact on the NATO based upon the NATO's natal chart and the planets and the Mahadasa that is running for that particular NATO. Here we'll start at 15th March till 8th May. Transit Jupiter residing in Scorpio will be in Rashi Sandhi. So those who have the Jupiter as their Mahadasa, Vimshottari Mahadasa, and Jupiter have owning some of the important houses or residing in some of the important houses will have an impact. The impact will be in positive if Jupiter is benefic and having the benefic planet aspects or co-joining, and will be negative if the natal Jupiter is a malefic or co-joined with malefic planets in the natal chart. And the same way is on 29th March all the way till 22nd April, both Jupiter and Saturn, transit Jupiter and transit Saturn, are co-joined in Sagittarius. That's a very important period. That 23 days is very important for a number of people, especially for people like me, because Sagittarius is my 8th house from natal moon. Transit Saturn residing in 8th house from natal moon is Ashtama Shani, which I am going through, and I have the Saturn Mahadasa running, and now transit Jupiter is co-joining with transit Saturn in the 8th house. And for my chart, Jupiter is the 4th and 7th house lord. Okay, and the next one is from 22nd April till 1st September. Transit Jupiter who will begin its retrograde motion and slowly goes to Scorpio and stays in Scorpio. And then again 22nd April to 23rd April, that's just one day, transit Jupiter will be in stationary mode. So that's a very important day for a number of people, and that includes me. And then again on 23rd May and 24th May, transit Saturn will be in stationary mode, because that's the date. On 24th May, transit Saturn will start its retrograde motion. So before going on retrograde, it will be stationary. So this is a powerful day. Transit Saturn being static, and that's the very powerful time. So that is 23rd to 24th May. The next one is from 8th May till 23rd June. Transit Saturn will have a direct aspect on transit Mars. So depending upon the role of Mars, you will have the impact. From 17th June till 16th July, transit Saturn will have a direct aspect on transit Sun. As I said earlier, depends on what the role of Sun is in your natal chart. On 1st September through 2nd September, transit Jupiter will be in stationary mode, because on 1st September until 1st September Jupiter was in retrograde motion, and on 1st September it becomes stationary and then starts in forward motion. So that's very important day. Again, 5th October to 6th October, transit Jupiter Saturn will be in stationary mode. Remember, I told you that transit Saturn will start its retrograde motion somewhere in 25th May, 24th or 25th of May, and it will be in retrograde motion all the way till 4th October. On 5th or 6th of October, during the 24-hour star period, transit Saturn will be in stationary mode, and after 6th October, it will approximately after 6th October, it will start moving in the forward direction. Again, from now 11th November all the way till the end of year, transit Jupiter and transit Saturn are co-joined in Sagittarius. That's a very, just like you had it from 22nd April till just like you had it from 29th March till 22nd April, the same impact you will have something similar again almost 6 months later. And then the most important thing here is from 7th March all the way till the end of year, transit Rahu and transit Saturn are having a direct aspect. That's a very important thing, particularly for those whose Mahadasa is Saturn like mine, or those whose Mahadasa is Rahu. And depending upon the house that Saturn owns and depending upon the position where Rahu is residing, the impact will be visible clearly. Welcome to Sastry Karra's astrological series. This is the second example that I am going to discuss for the sidereal for the year 2019 transit analysis using Sidereal Ephemeris. First and foremost, let me tell the disclaimer part of it. This presentation is purely for educational purposes. This presentation is prepared based on my knowledge in Hindu astrological principles. Please do not use this presentation or the contents in this presentation for any other purposes other than the techniques that I use to predict using the Hindu astrological principles. Now coming to the example 2, this is the Bollywood superstar Sharukh Khan. I am confident that there won't be any Indian who has no idea about this particular gentleman. He is called as the Badshah of Bollywood, that means king of the Bollywood or King Khan. And this particular person, I took it as my second example. There are a number of reasons which you are going to see as time goes by, but he has some of the unique, his natal chart is first of all very unique, and of course after going through his life history, I can say how the unique natal chart has represented in his actual life. And because the natal chart is unique, I took it for my Sidereal Ephemeris transit analysis for the year 2019. As I said earlier, this is a unique chart and I want to take this particular gentleman's chart for my transit analysis. And let's start with the chart. If you look at the chart, the reason why I said it is unique is because this particular native has something called as Kala Sharpa Yoga or Dosha, depending upon the way you want to look at it. That means all the planets are in between the axis of Rahu and Ketu. That here RA stands for Rahu and KE stands for Ketu. So Rahu is in Taurus, co-joined with the moon, so and Ketu is in Scorpio, that is the ascendant, co-joined with ascendant. And if you look at it, except Mars, all other planets are in between the Rahu and Ketu axis, and Mars is the first house lord, Lagnadipati. That's the first and sixth house lord also is Mars. So Mars being the Lagnadipati, he is fortunate. Since Mars is outside the Rahu Ketu axis, you can see that uniqueness in this particular native's life. If I remember correctly, his parents were Afghan refugees. They came from Afghanistan to New Delhi as a refugee, and Sharukh Khan was born and brought up in a refugee camp in New Delhi, and today he is the king of Khans. So if you look at his life history, from a refugee camp to the king of Khans, Bollywood superstar, you can say how life has changed for this particular native, and almost most of the stuff that he has gone through in his life is all the astrological miracles. First and foremost I want to talk is about that Mars, the Lagnadipati, residing outside the axis of Rahu and Ketu, and it's the only one planet that is residing outside that axis. And it's the first house lord and the sixth house lord. The sixth house deals with employment conditions. So naturally the employment conditions and the first house is something unique for this particular native through his whole lifetime. Now coming to the transit analysis for the year 2019, as I said earlier, first and the foremost what you have to do is that before you even start looking at the transit analysis for any given year, you go to the Vimsottari Dasa and look at what is the Mahadasa and what is the Antardasa. For Sharukh Khan, the Mahadasa is Saturn Mahadasa, which started in 2010 February and will be for almost 19 years, that is 2029. So in 2019, the whole 2019, it is the Saturn Mahadasa, Venus Antardasa, and then from January 2019 till June 2019, that is the first 6 months, it's Saturn's Pratyantara Dasa. So and then comes Mercury's Pratyantara Dasa. So we have to first look at what's the role of the natal Saturn and natal Mercury in this particular native's chart. Here let's start with Saturn. Saturn is the third and fourth house lord. Wow. Saturn is the third and fourth house lord, and Saturn is residing in its own house. So whenever Saturn resides in its own house, that house will be very, very strong. And here that is the fourth house. Fourth house deals with home life environment, mother, and sometimes it is also considered as motherland. So that's the reason why this particular native is very famous and has a strong grip in his motherland, which is India. And when you look at Saturn's inclination, it's only 12 degrees Aquarius. That means it's just 50% of the whole house is 30 degrees, of which it's 12 degrees. That means it's close to 50%. That means Saturn is neither in Rashi Sandhi from any point, not from the previous one, which is the Capricorn, or the next one is Pisces. So Saturn is exactly in the center of that particular zodiac sign and very stable over there. And when you look at the Saturn's third aspect, 1, 2 is on Jupiter, which is the sixth house. Yep. That's the one thing that we have to keep always in mind is sixth house deals with deaths and illness. Deaths, illness and employment conditions, and that's where Jupiter is residing. So Saturn is having a direct aspect. Third aspect is on Jupiter. So there will always be disappointments and hurdles when it comes to the sixth house, because Saturn and Jupiter Saturn is looking at Jupiter. So sixth house is deaths, illness and employment conditions. We know that he had gone through a number of, through the news media, I came to know that he had gone through a number of deaths and his employment conditions, because he's a film actor. There were a number of times where his movies were utter flopped and he has to overcome the financial losses. Next one is Saturn's direct aspect. Saturn's direct aspect is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this one, 10th house. Exactly the same thing. See, Saturn is having third aspect is on the 6th house, which is the employment conditions. Saturn is having a direct aspect on the 10th house, which is its career. And you can see in his career there are so many ups and downs, that, but still he could survive all of them. That's the reason I will tell you the reason why he could survive all of those. And then the Saturn's 10th aspect is on the first house self. There is a point. The Saturn, he learnt a lot from his ups and downs, that he could survive, and based on whatever the lessons he learned from his failures and from his troublesome days. Now let's go and look at the second one, that is Mercury. Mercury Pratyantara Dasa is from June till December, by exact 6 months each. Mercury is the 11th house lord. 11th and 8th house lord. 8th house is secret affairs and secret dealings. 11th house is financial gains and financial losses, and Mercury is the lord of that. Just keep in mind that one. And now let's go and see where is Mercury. Mercury is in the 3rd house from ascendant, and see, it co-joined with Sun. Sun is the 10th house lord. It co-joined with Venus. Venus is the 7th and 12th house lord. Oh, that's the reason too. Sun, Mercury and Venus, all the three are co-joined in a 3rd house. Naturally, he'll be famous. There's nothing to look at it. Wow. Okay, so that's the reason. Since Mercury is co-joined with the Sun and Venus, I don't think it would have a much impact. But there might be something that deals with secret affairs or secret dealings pertaining to career, because Sun is the 10th house lord, right? Pertaining to career, and also pertaining to some sort of a leadership, or I don't know what else to call, and it might be having some impact on his 12th house, which is unexpected expenditures. Let's go and see how the things look like. So this is the general analysis based upon the Vimsottari Dasa for the year 2019. Now what we have to do is go back and superimpose the transit planets. First, the 2 slow transit planets, 3 actually, all the 3 slow transit planets are going to change their houses during the year 2019. That's the reason why 2019 is very, very important for almost 99.99% of all the humans. This particular year is very, very important because Saturn is stationary at one particular point, retrograding twice. Jupiter is moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius and also retrograding. Rahu is moving from Cancer to Gemini. There you go. So all the 3 important planets are going. So let's go and see how the first 6 months, how it will be for the native, and then the remaining 6 months. Since we know the birth details, the place, time and date of birth for this particular native, and assuming that it is correct, we generated the Vimsottari Dasa, and I had explained to you the Vimsottari Dasa. Based on Vimsottari Dasa, how will be his year 2019. The next step that I do as soon as that is done is to go to the Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati and just look at based on this particular Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, just look at it, how is it going to be for him for the next year, that means for the year 2019. Having born on 11th February 1965, if you look at it, according to Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, his 54 year is completed. That means he is going through 55th year, starting 29th January 2019 all the way till 2020 January 2019. So during the first month in January, the cycle ruler is Mars. So during the first month in January for the year 2019, Mars will be activating the 6th house from its natal position, and also the 6th house from its ascendant or Rashi Lagna. Look at it. Mars is the 6th house lord in from Rashi Lagna. So Mars is activating its own house, the 6th house. Remember, I told you the 6th house is very powerful here because Mars is outside the Rahu Ketu axis. So Mars is powerful, the 6th house is powerful. That tells you that the 6th house is dealing with debts,
illnesses and employment conditions. So he will be having some sort of a impact in the first month of January, in the first that is from till the end of January, pertaining to deaths, illnesses and employment conditions. Now the question comes is, what type of impact can we see over there? Mars has activated the 6th house, which is its own house. Mars is violent, so whatever is like something that has a direct relationship with violence, because he's a Bollywood actor. So maybe he might be acting in a movie that is very violent, or something similar to that. That is for the employment conditions. When you look at the employment conditions, now it comes to the debts. He might be having some issues with the debts that hasn't shown up all this time, or will show up, or he may commit to some sorts of debts. And illness, because he is 54 to 55 years old, I'll just take the way the things goes, age related illness, which I'm not going to talk about. But at the same time, when Mars has activated the 6th house, look at who is inside the 6th house. When the house gets activated, then all the planets in that house also gets activated at the same time. Here you have Jupiter in the 6th house. Jupiter is the lord of the 2nd and 5th house lord. 2nd house is Kutumbasthanamo and Dhanasthanamo. 5th house is Putrasthanamo, and for the father also, parents, father. So whatever the activation that has happened would have an impact on his Dhanasthanamo, means his wealth, or Kutumbasthanamo means for his in his family, and specifically because Jupiter is also lord of the 5th house, that will have an impact on his 5th house. 5th is children. I should say it as Putrasthanamo, means children. Here both he has a girl and a boy. So for both of them, actually 2 boys and a girl, I think, something like that. And then the most important thing that you have to look at it is, once Mars has activated the 6th house from Rashi Lagna, I think from the 6th house from Mars is, oh great, the 4th house. Oh gosh, 4th house is home life, environment and Sukhasthanamo. So some sort of a chaotic stuff he will be facing in his home life environment, which is the 4th house, Kutumbasthanamo, which is the 2nd house, and the 6th house is employment conditions, ills and debts. And that's what happens during the first month of January. This is according to Behurug Chakra Paddhati. And next comes is the remaining from January all the way till December of 2019. Mars is activating the 7th house from Rashi Lagna. That's where Rahu and Moon are residing. And Mars is activating the 7th house from its natal position, which is the 5th house. Remember, Mars activated the 6th house earlier and in January, where Jupiter is residing. Jupiter is the 5th house lord, and once that's over, Mars is activating the 5th house, which is owned by the Jupiter, and Jupiter is residing in the house owned by Mars. So something related to 5th house will be highly visible. Some events pertaining to the 5th house will be highly visible for this particular native during the year 2019. And since Mars activates the 7th house from natal from Rashi Lagna from February till all the way till December, you go and see who is in the 7th house. 7th house is the 7th house lord is Venus. Remember, in Vimshottari Dasa, the Mahadasa is Saturn and Antaradasa is Venus. So the Venus is getting activated.
Hi Sastry, do we have to work today?
So Venus is the activated is the Antaradasa is the Antaradasa for the whole year 2019. And then next comes in Venus house, Rahu and Moon are residing.
Wherever Rahu stays, he will create chaos in that particular house. That is for sure, which is the 7th house here for him, for the NATO. And then, as if that is not sufficient, Rahu is co-joined with the moon. Moon is the 9th house lord, Bhagyasthanadipati and Dharmasthanadipati. So I'm not going to talk about the Dharmasthanadipati, what might happen, but for the Bhagyasthanadipati, since the second house Dhanasthanamu is getting vibrated, the 6th house is getting vibrated, 9th house will also get vibrated by default, because second house is Dhanasthanamu, 6th house is debts, house of debts, and 9th house is Bhagyasthanamu or wealth. So all these three houses are going to get activated in the year 2019 for this particular native, which might have a major impact when it comes to his family, home life environment and children. And I'm not going to talk about the Dharmasthanamu. When Dharmasthanamu gets activated, what exactly is going to happen, because we have no idea about him. We completed the analysis using the Vimsottari Dasa first, and then using the Bihuruga Chakra Paddhati for the year 2019. So those two analysis gave you very high level what might happen. So now let's go more in detail and see what could that when we said what might happen, when could that happen? This is from what we are going to when precisely. And if you look at the Sidereal Ephemeris for the year 2019, starting January 1st all the way till 13th till 6th or 7th, 13th January I think, all the way till 13th January, Sun is going to be in Sagittarius, and on 1st January Sun and Mercury are going to co-join with Saturn in Sagittarius, and on 5th and 6th of January Sun, Moon, Mercury are co-joining with Saturn in Sagittarius. So let's go to look at what is Sagittarius for this particular native. Sagittarius for this particular native is the second house, Dhanasthanamu and Kutumbasthanamu. Kutumbasthanamu means family, Dhanasthanamu means wealth, we can just say it as wealth, and the Lord is Jupiter. The Jupiter is in the 6th house. So the second house Lord Jupiter is residing in the 6th house. That's one point. And then comes the next one is Sagittarius, Sun, Mercury. Sun is the 10th house Lord, Mercury is the 8th and 11th house Lord, and Saturn is the 3rd and 4th house Lord. So Sun and Mercury, the 10th and the 8th house Lord, these two are co-joining with the 4th house Lord in the 2nd house. 10th house Lord deals with career. The 11th house Lord is Mercury, deals with the financial gains or losses. The 8th house Lord Mercury deals with the secret affairs or secret dealings. The 4th house Lord Saturn deals with home life environment, and all of them are staying in that 2nd house. Transit planets, all these transit planets are staying in the 2nd house, and they are directly looking at Mercury, who is the Lord of the 8th and 11th houses. So this is something that tells me that. And on 5th and 6th of January, Moon is also co-joining. Moon, remember Moon, the Bhagyasthanadipati is also, and Dharmasthanadipati is going to co-join there on that day. So between 1st January till 13th January, means 14th or 15th of January, Sun enters Makara Rasi or Capricorn. So until that point, Sun will be in Sagittarius, co-joining with natal transit Saturn, and Moon and Mercury just comes in and goes away. So this particular 13 days in January is very crucial for this particular native. Remember, according to Bihuruga Chakra Paddhati, Mars activates the 6th house from Rashi Lagna, which is its own house where the 2nd house Lord Jupiter is residing, and Mars also activates the 6th house from its natal position, which is the 4th house from Rashi Lagna where Saturn is residing. So these 13 days from 1st January till 13th of January, in his chart a lot of planets are getting activated, and like Mars, Sun, Mercury, Saturn and Jupiter are getting activated, and their houses are getting activated too, and Saturn Mahadasa is running, and Saturn Pratyantra Dasa will be running during this 1 month period. So this 1 month is very crucial for this particular native when it comes to different perspectives of his life. Next comes the next comes is till 29th March. Yeah, you can go all the way till 28th or 29th of March till 22nd of April. That means the whole month of April we can take approximately. The whole month of April transit Jupiter is co-joining with transit Saturn in Sagittarius. So transit Saturn first of all is in Sagittarius for the past since 2 years, almost like 1.5 years or 2 years. Somewhere in 16 it came and it entered somewhere in 16, and I heard that somewhere in the month of March 2017 or that during something close to that period he had some sort of a surgery or some sort of a medical issues when transit Saturn was in the 2nd house. Okay, and the reason is from 2nd house it is looking at the 4th house where the natal Saturn is residing. 4th is Sukhasthanamu or home life environment. So some dynamical, some sort of a chaos in the home life environment is possible as long as Saturn stays in Sagittarius. And now from March 29th all the way till 23rd April, the whole 1 month, transit Jupiter will be co-joining with transit Saturn in Sagittarius in the 2nd house. Jupiter owns the 2nd house. So transit Jupiter, when it enters its own house, you can expect that when this transit Jupiter entered its own house, it will do something beneficial for this particular native pertaining to the 2nd house, which is Kutumbasthanamu and Dhanasthanamu. Unfortunately, Saturn is already there in his house. So Saturn and Jupiter are two gigantic planets that when they two co-join or have a direct aspect, whether you look from the scientific perspective, there will be a gravitational pull and push between the two planets, which might create some sort of a, some sort of a gravitational distortion. It starts with the alphabet P, I forgot it. Okay, so that is from the scientific perspective. From astrological perspective, whenever Jupiter and Saturn co-joins, it creates disappointments and hurdles, that is for sure. Now they are co-joining in the month of April, and so whatever happens in the month of January will be the native will see the outcome of that event. He may not see the event the result of the event that happened in January, but there's a high possibility for the native to see the result of that event in April 2019. That's when Jupiter enters Sagittarius and co-joins with Saturn. Remember, there is another, the Bihiru Sarla Paddhati rule states that whenever Saturn and Jupiter co-joins, it spoils the bhava or the characteristics of Aries or Mesha. For this particular native, Aries is the 6th house. 6th house deals with deaths, illnesses and employment conditions. So when transit Jupiter and transit Saturn enters co-joins in Sagittarius, they will create some sort of a chaos in the 6th house. And unfortunately, in the 6th house, you see Jupiter, natal Jupiter is residing, who owns the 2nd house and who owns the 5th house. So just let's wait and see. Maybe through the news media we might know what exactly might have happened for this particular native before 23rd April 2019.
Okay, now that we had completed the transit analysis by seeing the natal chart, what I did was I took the transit planets, converted their inclination into minutes, and then the natal planets, natal planet, slow moving planet at the time of birth, whatever was the inclination, converted into minutes, and then drew this chart. What you can see here is that, okay, let me first explain. The first one, that 19,000 all the way, is the natal Saturn. So anytime you see a natal planet, it will be a straight line because that was the inclination at the time of birth. After that, that inclination never changes, it's stationary. So you see the straight line at 19,000 is the natal Saturn, and the straight line at between 1000 and 2000 is natal Jupiter, and then the 3000 to 4000 is natal Rahu. And now the question comes is, where are the other planets? If you look at it, transit Rahu is the only planet that is very close to natal Rahu and natal Jupiter. That's all. The transit natal Saturn is far away from transit Rahu or the natal Jupiter or natal Rahu. But at the same time, natal Saturn is very, very close to transit Jupiter, Saturn, and a little bit farther from transit Jupiter. So what you can see is that here is that natal Saturn is very much being closer to transit Saturn and closer to transit Jupiter when compared to the other transit planets. Whatever, and Saturn Mahadasa is running for this planet, for this person, NATO. The Saturn role here is very important. At the same time, because Jupiter is closer to Saturn, and as I said earlier, the closer the Jupiter and Saturn gets, the more disappointments, hurdles the NATO will face. So this year, in the year 2019, this particular NATO will face a number of hurdles and disappointments that's pertaining to Saturn and Jupiter, whatever the bhavas or whatever the houses they own and in whichever house they reside. So those houses will have a major impact, resulting into disappointment and hurdles. Now let's go and look at the second part of it. That means where the natal Rahu, transit Rahu and natal Jupiter are very, very close by. That means all the three lines that you see below 6000 inclination, 6000 minutes is what I am talking about. The straight line that you see is natal Jupiter. Perfect. The above that is between 3000 and 4000 is natal Rahu, and then between 4000 to 5000 is transit Rahu. So you can see that transit Rahu is a little bit up and down moving the inclination. That's the reason why it is not a straight line. So every time that's the reason why transit Rahu, wherever he joins in whichever house, you see ups and downs. So you see up, and then it falls down and again goes up, falls down. So this is something that you see for transit Rahu all the time. Now that we have seen it, let's wait and see how exactly are these two different roles will impact the NATO. The first one, if you see the chart, it's exactly all the two transit planets and one natal planet is above, all the way above, closer to the next zodiac sign, and two natal planets and one transit planet are below, the very close to the previous house. So this is some, and in between them, like from 6000 minutes all the way till 13,000 minutes. That means 6,000 minutes is 10 degrees, 13,000 minutes is 15 or 20 degrees. So it's completely empty.
So they are so widely separated. And so the issues, whatever you see, when one particular set of planets are creating issues, the other set will not help the NATO to minimize the issues. Neither does it help to minimize the issues, nor will it amplify the issues. So the issues are independent right now for this particular NATO in the year 2019.
Now I had given the detailed explanation for the year 2019 for this particular NATO. While going through the chart, what I noticed was that natal moon is in Taurus, transit Saturn is in Sagittarius. So if you count from natal moon to with Taurus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So from natal moon, transit Saturn is in 8th house. That means since November or December 2016 onwards, the NATO is going through Ashtamashani period. Ashtamashani means 8th house from natal moon, and it is one of the worst periods that any NATO will have, particularly if the NATO is has any health related issues or have any financial related issues before the Ashtamashani began. What I came to know is after the Ashtamashani began in November or December 2016, somewhere in March or April of 2017, this particular NATO had undergone some sort of a shoulder surgery on his shoulder for the second time. Keep in mind, this NATO has Kalasvarpa Yoga or Dosha, depending upon the way you want to look at it, indicating that natal moon is being impacted by Rahu. So Rahu by default creates ups and downs in whichever the house he is residing, and now he is residing with moon. Moon is mind in general. So for this particular during the Ashtamashani period, what happens is that the mind will be so chaotic that the NATO might try to do something that is stupid or some sort of a stuff that results in more mental anguish and mental stress. Here, that particular moon and Rahu, they both are in the 7th house from Rashi Lagna. So the 7th house deals with a lot of things. Generally it is called as the Kalatrasthanamo, that means spouse. Also 7th house also deals with short-term travels and business. While 6th house deals with the business with the full-fledged employment conditions, 7th house deals with business. So business or self-employment, whichever way you want to take it. So this particular NATO is supposed to, I don't know how far is it true, but this particular NATO is supposed to have a number of issues since November or December of 2016, that is when the Ashtamashani began, specifically pertaining to business, and there might be some ups and downs in business. And also natal moon is the 9th house lord. That's where transit Saturn is, transit Rahu is residing during the Ashtamashani period. 9th house is Bhagyasthanamo and Dharmasthanamo. So Bhagyasthanamo is wealth. So I'm 100% sure this NATO is going through some sort of a unbearable financial losses or financial disturbances which is created or creating a lot of mental stress and mental anguish since the beginning of Ashtamashani. Okay, let me start the whole year prediction summary. Remember earlier in different until now what I have done is for this particular NATO I have predicted it based upon the different planets, the slow moving planets especially,
Saturn, Rahu and Jupiter. Now let me summarize it so that the whole year predictions will be in one particular slide, and it will be easy for the viewers to see the whole impact in one single frame. Starting 1st January till 13th January, transit Sun will be in Sagittarius, because on 13th or 14th of January it enters Makara Rasi. So until that point it will be in Sagittarius, and we all know that currently in Sagittarius transit Saturn is also residing. So Saturn and Sun are bitter enemies. So what's happening here is that the two bitter enemies are residing in are co-joined in Sagittarius. Sagittarius in general is the natural ninth house. The natural ninth house means Dharmasthanamo and Bhagyasthanamo. So naturally, when Saturn and Sun are residing in that particular house or co-joined in that particular house, those two will be impacted for every individual, one way or the other. Only the intensity of impact might vary, but there will be an impact. And now for this particular native, when you look at it, Sagittarius is the second house from Rashi Lagna and 8th house from Chandra Lagna. That means this particular native is already going through Ashtama Shani, and apart from that, the Sun and Saturn are going to be in the second house from Rashi Lagna. Second house deals with Dhanasthanamo and Kutumbasthanamo. So because of that reason, the native will be impacted, or will see some sort of hurdles pertaining to Dhanasthanamo, means finances, or Kutumbasthanamo means we call it as family with family members. So this particular issue might be something related with family members and finances. And since that is the Ashtama Shani period is going on for this particular native, the impact is not only highly visible, but it will be so big enough for the native to create, so in such a way that the native will have what you call mental anguish or mental stress, some sort of a mental anxiety during these 14 days. Then comes the second one. 15th March through 8th May. During that period, transit Jupiter is going to be in Rashi Sandhi. First of all, let's go and see what is natal Jupiter role here in his chart. That's very important. Natal Jupiter is the second and fifth house lord, residing in the sixth house. Remember, second house is Kutumbasthanamo and Dhanasthanamo, fifth house is Putrasthanamo, and they both are relating. The lord is residing in sixth house, which is the Rogasthanamo. Sixth house also deals with deaths, illness and employment conditions. So when you are looking for the native, two things are possible. This natal Jupiter is good because it's in the sixth house. Sixth house means dushtana, bad house. So because Jupiter is residing there, it will have some sort of impact pertaining to the second house and fifth house. The house is its own. And now let's go and look at natal Saturn. Natal Saturn is the third and fourth house lords residing in the fourth house. So when natal Saturn is residing in the fourth house, natal Saturn's third aspect is on sixth house where natal Jupiter is residing. Remember, whenever there is some sort of a relationship between Jupiter and Saturn, the hurdles and disappointments are guaranteed. Now here comes this, for which house is that hurdles and disappointments? Because Saturn and Jupiter, Saturn is looking at the third aspect to the Jupiter's house, something pertaining to the second, third, fourth and fifth houses. So you have to consider all the four houses when you are trying to look at disappointments and hurdles for this particular native. Let's go and see now where is transit Jupiter. During this period, it's in Rashi Sandhi. That means it's going to be in Scorpio. Scorpio means Lagnamo, first house, Lagnadipati. So the second and fifth house lord is going to be in the first house self. So what are the negative impact or hurdles and disappointments the NATO is going to face, that will be resulted due to self in the sense the NATO in himself. And also Rahu is in the 7th house looking at the 1st house, so natal Rahu is looking at transit Jupiter, so that whatever the hurdles and disappointments are there, those are so unstable that the NATO will have some sort of a mental anguish and mental anxiety, and this might be amplified due to Ashtama Shani too. So a lot of things are going to happen for this particular NATO in the year 2019. The next one also you can look at it. From 29th March till 22nd April, Jupiter is going and transit are co-joined in Sagittarius. There's another problem here. And then comes 22nd April to 1st September, slowly transit Jupiter retrogrades and goes back to Scorpio. So the problems might be a little bit minimized, but it won't be resolved. 22nd and 23rd April, transit Jupiter will be stationary. Jupiter is residing in the 6th house, and natal Jupiter is residing in the 6th house, and transit Jupiter is probably going to be in Scorpio, that is the 1st house, having a direct aspect from Rahu. So the impact on the 6th house will be very high. Then again on 23rd and 24th May, you see transit Saturn is stationary. Oh gosh, Saturn important for the NATO when it comes to siblings and home life environment. Because of the financial problems and other issues that the NATO is going through due to transit Jupiter, natal Rahu and Ashtama Shani, during this day 23rd May and 24th May, when transit Saturn is in stationary mode, transit Saturn will be extremely powerful, that too in the 2nd house. So it's something that we have to keep in mind what exactly might happen for this particular NATO. But most of the time I would say that whatever happens will have a direct impact on his family, home life environment, family members and finances. The next one I would say is I will go all the way till 7th March through 31st December. Transit Saturn will have a direct aspect on transit Rahu. Transit Rahu will move from Cancer to Gemini on 7th March, and Gemini is the 2nd house from Rahu, from natal moon, and 8th house from Rashi Lagna. See, from Chandra Lagna in the 8th house you have transit Saturn. From Rashi Lagna in the 8th house you have transit Rahu. Either of the way, whether you look from the mind, which is Chandra Lagna, or from Rashi Lagna, which is destiny, the 8th house is thoroughly spoiled. The 8th house deals with secret affairs and secret dealings, and Saturn is the 3rd and 4th house lord. 3rd house is siblings and 4th house is home life environment. And transit during this period, for some time, transit Jupiter is co-joining with transit Saturn and looking at transit Rahu. So a lot of things, the whole year 2019 will be extremely unstable and very, very dynamic for this particular NATO. Let's hope for something good for this particular NATO, and I'll keep monitoring, looking in the media to see what exactly has happened for this particular NATO. Thank you. Thank you for watching this presentation. This is the second example pertaining to Sidereal Ephemeris transit analysis for the year 2019. Even though my predictions are starting from 1st of January, and I completed this before December 31st, but due to some family issues I was not able to upload it before 31st of December. So probably by the time you guys view this one, my predictions between 1st of January, that especially on 1st of January, 5th and 6th of January, might have already gone through. Thank you once again. And the third example is about for Salman Khan, another Bollywood actor, and I'll try to put that predictions also before 6th of January. Thank you very much.